Welcome to the Cancer Support Suffolk podcast. Join me, Mark Murphy, and my brilliant guests as we talk about life before, during and after cancer. With me this time is Tom Fitton. Tom's written a book called Dad's Diary. It charts what it's like to be the partner of someone with cancer. It's warts and all. There's no sugarcoating here. In fact, the opening page says, "This is a true story, brackets, a shit one, close brackets." Tom, I think that sums up a lot of what's in the book, because this is very raw and very, very graphic about what you, your wife, your family went through after her cancer diagnosis. So thank you very much for joining us and talking about it. And please don't hold back, because the book is really just that. You haven't held back, have you? And it's a really very powerful read. Before we start, a little bit of background to you. You're an Apache pilot.
Yeah, that's right. I'm in the British Army, so I've been in about 15 years serving. I'm an Apache pilot now. Before that, I was an infantry officer in the parachute regiment, so local to this area. I migrated from Colchester up the road to Ipswich way. And yeah, so bit about me, 15 years British Army. Said I'm married, got my wife, 2 young daughters, and we live on the base away from family. All our family are in the northwest of the UK. So
as an Apache pilot, you are trained to deal with all sorts of situations. That's part and parcel of your training, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, it comes out in the book a bit. Obviously, you read it, which was you've actually read it, which is good. Yeah, you're trained to be at a moment's notice, deploy anywhere in the world, and then you could be in any kind of scenario, operating against all different kinds of threats and trying to make decisions in the cockpit with seconds.
So you're used to dealing with all sorts of situations, and then all of a sudden, what happened?
So I'd been deployed for a few months, came back, and within a few weeks, Lucy had a lump on her breast for a little bit, and she went to get it checked out eventually, having moaned about it for a good few weeks, if not months. She went to get it checked, and then it would have been October the 25th, if my memory is right. We were sat in a room, and the doctor said, "Yeah, unfortunately, it's not good news. It's cancerous."
Your regimental motto is all about coping with things, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Utrink Paratus, ready for anything.
Were you?
Well, that's the parachute regiment one. No, absolutely not. I don't think anybody is. Being ready for something means that you've thought about it, or it's on your radar of possibilities. It's either a plan for now or the future, or you're aware it could happen. But being told your wife at the age of 34, 35 has cancer when you've got 2 kids that are 1 and 4 at the time.
Yeah, they were very young, weren't they? Yeah.
Really young.
Yeah.
You can't be ready for that. To be ready for something, you've got to see it coming. So no is the simple answer.
We often hear about the person who's had the diagnosis. You know, we talk often about their journey, their symptoms, etc. Here at Cancer Support Suffolk, we look after cancer patients with counselling, but also family members as well, because often we find that the cancer patient has got everybody around them looking after them, making sure they're okay, and you're sometimes on the outside. Is that how you felt?
Yes, and I was very happy about that, because you want it to be about the patient. All the focus is on them. And I definitely saw my role as supporting Lucy, and definitely saw my role as everything I needed to do, everything I wanted to do was to help her get through it and to cope with it.
But you're the strong man. You're the Apache pilot. You're the guy that everybody looks to. You've had all that training. And yet, tell us how you reacted to that, because this really impacted on you very quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I think initially there was a shock. There was a period of shock, and emotions were high, and it was a period where it was difficult to control or understand those emotions. So, yeah, I make no bones about it in the book. I cried very early on, sobbed, and there was no clarity of thought. It was really hard to understand the situation, to know what needed to be done, to understand where we were, what we were going to do, what was going to happen next. Looking back, it was a blur, and living it was a blur. You felt lost. There was an element of fear, a lot of fear, but I don't mean in terms of scared. It was just in terms of the unknown. And I think that was the overriding emotion of confusion and wanting to know more and not knowing where to get the information from to understand the situation.
This is something that an awful lot of people go through, exactly what you've described. They don't write it down in a journal in the way that you did. And you started pretty much from that moment, didn't you?
Yeah. So one of the benefits, or one of the things that's got me through this, is my training, right? So in the military, they're really good at teaching or building resilience, coping mechanisms. We have a really good, robust way of dealing with stress and, trauma after the event. But one of the things that gets encouraged is keeping a journal, especially if you deploy somewhere. So if you're going away anywhere, it's quite common for people to keep a journal. Not necessarily to deal with specific traumatic events, but just if you go away somewhere, it's quite nice to look back and have a memory of, oh yeah, well, I deployed to the far end of the world, somewhere I never thought I'd go. And if you just write a sentence or two for every single day you're there, nobody else ever has to read that, but it will jog your memory and give you the memories and the stories that you can then, tell your grandkids about. And mightily,
there's probably another podcast there, I think, isn't there?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So for me, it was kind of a semi-natural thing to do, something I've done before, where I've been away and I've just kept a couple of sentences each day to jog my memory. Usually when I'm away, I'll do something funny that day, whether it be an event or if you deployed, it'd be something else. You jot it down just to deal with it. Whereas for whatever reason, the day before we got the diagnosis, or Lucy was diagnosed, I was laying in bed and I opened up just the notes app on my phone. And I just wrote a couple of sentences, and I think it was about going on a dog walk with my dad. And it was just basically, I do not know why I decided to start what we now call the journal, the diary, whatever you want, just a list of notes. And it wasn't in a specific book or a journal app. It was literally my notes app. I wrote the date and then wrote, I'm really scared about tomorrow, basically. And then the next day.
Did you open up to your dad? You talk about that in here? No.
I think I've been on a walk with him and I was like, I'm talking about tomorrow, and I said, like, I'm really concerned about it. And I think in the book I mentioned like the extract from that day. I can't remember it exactly, but it's basically on the inside I was saying, holy crap, I'm scared. Like, this could be a pivotal moment here. You're sat on the edge of a cliff and we're about to go tumbling and I don't know what's at the bottom. But trying to articulate that to your dad when you're just walking along outside, you just kind of go, yeah, I'm not really looking forward to tomorrow. And that was the end of the conversation.
So the diagnosis comes through. How did your wife handle it?
Amazingly. I think, again, she was in shock. So she was sad, she was scared. But there's just so many unknowns. So you're both just trying to figure out and understand, what does this mean? You hear the word cancer and you go, yeah, okay. Obviously it's not good. But what does it mean? Like, where are we on the spectrum? But how did Lucy deal with it? She was amazing. She is amazing. She cried, held hands, cuddled, drove home, she's crying. And I just tried to stay positive and be of the mindset.
Strong, supportive person.
Yeah.
But you talk in the diary about going for a run, pulling up your hoodie, bawling your eyes out, going for a run, wondering what people would think was going on in your world. So was that your way of trying to cope?
Yeah. So I knew that I needed to process my emotions quickly and as efficiently as possible so that I wouldn't break down in front of Lucy and the family. Because with everything that's going on, you didn't need a dad that was having a crisis as well, right? Like you say, you want to be that strong guy. You wanted to be the pillar that you could drag everyone through the situation. So yeah, I needed some own time. I needed some space. I'm quite a fit, athletic guy. That's what I do for hobbies and stuff. So I was like, well, I'm going for a run. And I didn't go on the run intending to cry or have a moment, but headphones in, mind started wandering, and then just started crying. And then I guess part of me would have been embarrassed of that. So then I pulled the hood up over my head, thinking I don't want anyone to see me. And I'm just running through the woods. And then you just sobbing, and initially in my head and then out loud, just started saying a few phrases, because I knew I was going to have to start telling people that Lucy has cancer, that it's breast cancer, that she's going to have chemo, that we're a young family, we've got 2 kids, I don't know, you're going to have to say these things to people. And when you try to say it, your voice goes and it'll wobble and you'll start crying. And so I think initially, like from the outset, I tried to find a bit of humour,
Yes.
And so I'd call people and say, "Oh, Lisa's got ideal." I'd be like, "Yeah, Lisa's got cancer. It's far from ideal." And that one phrase really made me chuckle. I was like, "It's far from ideal." Like, trying to be matter of fact and a little bit of humour, and then the other phrases were like, "We're going to get through it. We are." It's a positive mindset. It's that attitude of
That's so important.
Yeah.
It really is for everybody.
Yeah, and I'm really proud of myself from day one. And I think, again, that's my training of like, well, we are going to achieve this. We might not have the information, we might not have the resources, we might not know anything about how we're going to do it, but we are going to get to the end of this chapter.
In the diary, you use this to vent, don't you?
Mm.
So this was helping you to release some of your emotions.
Yeah, the anger. Yeah, 100%. So one of the main themes is about controlling those emotions and allowing them out when at a time of your choosing. So I realized quite early on that there was a lot of emotions in my head that I couldn't really process or was trying to process. And if you weren't on top of it, they would come out as snappy comments. They'd come out as anger. They'd come out as being argumentative. And that's just making the situation worse. And you're dealing with people that don't really understand what you're going through, but they really, really want to, especially your loved ones, right? They really want to help. They really want to do everything they can, but they just don't know how to help. And why should they, right? It's not normal. Well, sadly it is, but it's not.
It's not something you expect to have to deal with, is
No.
it? But sadly, so many people are.
No, it's not. And so I realized quite early on that rather than snapping at people and calling them an effing idiot or being annoyed because I just explained it to someone else, why do I have to explain it to you? I just vent in the diary and be like, so-and-so's a moron or whatever it is, which is completely untrue, but it's better to write it down and go, I'm so angry about this, because 2 or 3 days later, or even the next day, you can look at it and go, you're an idiot. Don't say that to them. Like that's not what they meant. Everybody's intention is always good, but when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to see that.
And sometimes it becomes overwhelming, doesn't it? If people are continually asking that. You say in the diary that work was a sanctuary. I've heard other people say that. I had a good friend in broadcasting whose wife had breast cancer. Sadly, her outcome was not a good one. But he would come into work and we would say, "What are you doing?" He said, "It's just therapy for me. It's just for a few moments I can just have a rest from what's going on." Was that the same for you?
Absolutely. Our minds work all the time, right? So if you can take yourself away somewhere and have a distraction where you feel like you've got a purpose other than caring for your family or being a supportive husband or partner, it's just euphoria. It's just lovely for your mind to be focused on something else and you forget about the problems, and you're in an environment, especially in the military, where you can have some banter, or you don't even have to join in. You can just sit in a corner and listen to normality going on. It's great. And that was some of the best therapy I had, was just getting out of the house, feeling like I had purpose, because when you don't work or you have too much time off, there's an element of guilt that comes in from my personality, but there's an element of, most simple terms, I'm getting paid and I'm doing nothing for it. And you feel like a sponger and you don't want that feeling. And then you feel like you feel like a charity case, and you don't want to be a charity case. You want to be, like you say, you want to be a successful guy that's all over it. And it's being humble enough to realize that, it's fine to do that, but every now and then going into work, it was great.
You did some odd things early on.
Okay.
Gambling.
Yeah.
Some low-level gambling you talk about in the diary. Insurance policies.
Yeah.
What, I guess your mind is what were you thinking? What was the reason for doing some gambling? Was that going to make it better, or?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't have, right? It was I was spending relatively a lot of money on lottery tickets. So I wasn't going down a casino or anything, but it was just on my phone.
Was this in case you had the big win and then you could take her private, or
I didn't even really know. I just thought life would be better if
Yeah.
I had a whole big pile of cash. No, it wasn't so much going private. It wasn't even that, because I'm a massive fan of the NHS and I'm in awe of it. And I actually don't know what you could pay to have better. You know, we pretty much went into treatment straight away. The treatments can't be given more than, depending on what it is, 3 weeks. You get it on day 21. So we didn't have, I think we had a couple of delays over a year and a half, which is nothing, right? So going private, what? So she could have had a nicer room and some slippers. Well, the staff everywhere are great and they're the experts. So I'd rather be in a room where it's absolutely normal. So short answer, no, it wasn't really about that. It was some weird mentality that if I could drive her to the hospital in a Porsche, with hindsight, I don't think it would have helped in the slightest. It would have been a massive hindrance, because we'd have gone, oh, shall we buy a house? Shall we go on holiday? Where do we invest this money? You know, it would have been another thing to think.
Huge distraction for what was the most important thing.
Which is, well, don't get me wrong, I still love to win the Euro Millions.
Yeah, wouldn't we all?
Right. But no, so I don't even know what it was about, but I think it was like escapism. It was wanting to change the situation we were in. How can I change this? And it would have been that. And then, the second part, so that was gambling. And then what was the other one? Insurance. Yeah, that's quite an interesting one. That's a message that I try and get out there if I can to everybody, every partner, every family. And Lucy and I, we had life insurance from the very first property we purchased to cover that mortgage. And in short, that's not an adequate life insurance policy when you've got 2 kids and a bigger house. You know, we're not wealthy people by any stretch of the imagination, but we're comfortable and happy. And I would want either of us to maintain that lifestyle if something happened to one of us. And the sad truth is that I wasn't having looked at what the policy was, which is another crazy thing to look into. Lucy's poorly, and I went and looked at our life insurance to make sure that, well, actually what I looked at for was there anything for significant illness that we could get to help us again in case Lucy needed to stop working or something. And then I realised it wasn't enough. So I was like, right, well, quietly, I'm going to go off and did the equations online of how much they think I should have. And it was 3 times what we had in place for Lucy, which is what we've got. But now it gave me the comfort to know that if this terrible situation got worse and I died, actually they'd be absolutely fine.
Kind of focuses your mind on all sorts of things, doesn't it? In
Bizarre.
A strange kind of way.
When you don't sleep, your mind goes to all sorts of places.
It's that horrible 3 o'clock in the morning, can't get to sleep thought process, isn't it? Her treatment, you talk a lot about her treatment in the diary.
Yeah.
You've talked about how quickly she was looked at by the NHS. You know, we passionately love the NHS here as well. The treatment for her was long, wasn't it? And lots of different things tried before eventually surgery.
Yeah. So she had chemo, but initially the chemo had had limited effect on the tumour size, so it wasn't working. And that's another thing you learn about. You do all the research, and you know, people said chemo to me in the past. I just thought it was a drug, and you know, there's loads, which was interesting to learn. So I think it was 2 rounds of the first one, which had no effect, which then is demoralising because it absolutely wallops your body, and you're going through all of that, and you go for the checkups, and they measure the tumour, and they go, oh, it's stayed the same. So that wasn't great. But then they changed the drug. I think we had some hormone therapy, and then that one started working, luckily. And then, she had 2 surgeries, radiotherapy. And after that, the book finished. And then subsequently, we've had a second round of chemo.
What did you say to the children? They were 1 and 4?
Yeah.
Did they realise Mummy was poorly?
Yeah. But the youngest one, you don't say anything. Like, it was just
too young to process.
Too young to process.
Yep.
It was miserable for her because she was breastfeeding at the time. And then she had to go cold turkey from that because of the chemo. So she ended up sleeping in the bed with me, and she's not getting any milk out of me. And the older one, we just adopted a policy of honesty. It was in children's terms, and it was Mummy's poorly, got to go to hospital a lot, there's doctors, all that kind of stuff. So we were just honest with her. She understood it, and we've helped her cope, we think, relatively well. But even that, it was quite hard to find books to help kids understand that aren't catastrophic. So a lot of the books are about parents who either died or are going to. And so it was quite hard to actually find ones that middle ground of staying positive and saying, no, we're going to be all right. But we were still in a place at that point where we didn't know. We were in the thick of the woods. We didn't know we were going to get through the other side. We were confident we would, but you don't know. But we trod that line, and I think we did quite a good job.
Humour played a part as well. I'm just going to read a passage about Christmas.
Okay.
I'm just going to read a bit out. 16th of December, which was a Saturday.
Right.
It's beginning to feel a lot like Christmas. Started to decorate the house today. Set up the tree and all the bits in the lounge. Really pleased with it all. I took the biggest, longest breath in through my nose and said, I love the smell of Christmas. But after a second or two, I realised I wasn't getting the sweet smell of festive pine. I had just sucked in the most horrific, putrid, foul-smelling flatulence that you could ever imagine. Effing chemotherapy. So shit. Even ruined putting up the Christmas tree. She found this hilarious. A good laugh. So you managed to find humour in all of this as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny. You know, if you don't
you can't beat a good fart
If you
joke.
don't find farts funny,
Yeah.
like, you're not going to enjoy chemo because it messes your digestive system up something royal, right? You know, I used to think I was the fart boss, but Lucy's that now. And you've got to find the funny side of it, you know? The other great one was when they were, the girls were having a bath with my daughters. The youngest one had a swimming cap on. And my oldest found it hilarious. She was like, she looks like she's got cancer. And you're like, that's not funny, but it's just hilarious and she was squealing with laughter that she looked, that a 1-year-old looked like she was bored. And you're like, yeah, fair one. And the kids have that kind of humour with it. And it does help. You have to have humour. It gets you through everything, right? And sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's sad, but you've got to laugh.
At the end of the book, you come up with some learnings for other people who may be going through a similar situation. And of course, it's something that we don't talk about often enough, the partner of someone who's going through. You know, it is tough on you as well.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be strong, you've got to be supportive. You know, you don't want to be snapping in the way that you do. You want to be there and help. And that's, I guess, what the book is for people to read this and to think, okay, I'm not alone in this. This is, you know. So you say focus on the children.
Mm-hmm.
They will be the ones who live with the impact of this the longest.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's just, common sense, right? Hopefully, our children are going to be in their 80s. And this will be a one of their life events. And you just hope that they appreciate the way we dealt with it, the way we helped them cope with it. And they look back and go, yeah, it's not affected us negatively. We've learned what a loving couple and mum and dad look like, and we've learned what a strong family unit can do, and they didn't fall apart. So everything you do, you know, will have the biggest reward for the children. So looking at the long-term impact of everything, that should be your focus. It should be, well, what can we do for them? How can we give them happy memories? How can we give them a stable base? How can we give them the psychological frameworks to cope with what's happening at the age of 4 to 6? And as we go through, you know, this is going to continue now forever. There's always going to be these fears of a little niggle. You have to wait for the results again. So yeah, the focus is on helping them cope more than us coping.
You can't expect to look after other people if you don't look after yourself. I mean, reading this, you realise that, I think, quite early on.
Yeah, I did. Again, I'm very fortunate. I've had all this training. The military teaches you that as a leader, right? So you can't, exactly what it says, you can't look after other people if you're not looking after yourself. So if you're going to be looking after other people, that's hard work. It's hard enough looking after yourself in the modern world. And then trying to be a parent and trying to be a partner and a husband. To do that well, you need to be on top of your game. And if you've got a cold or you're poorly, you realise you can't offer that support to people. And for a very short period of time, you can neglect yourself and you can pick up other people, you can help children more, you can help your wife more. A short period, I mean a day or two. After that, your physical health, your mental health will deteriorate. And if you allow that to progress down the road too much, you will, well, I don't know, but I assume you'll hit a point in no return where you'll be snappy.
I often say to people, stay strong. And
Yeah.
I think that, from what you're saying, is what you would agree with as well.
But,
stay strong.
But staying strong, it sounds so simple, but how do you do that, right? So it's, how do you stay strong? And for me, it was, quite early on, I can't remember if I wrote it down, but I did something every day to be selfish. Sounds mad, right? But I did something selfish every single day. And I'd have wanted that to have been a day out with the guys, you know, go to the pub, or it might have been a round of golf, but quite often it might have been reading 5 pages from a book. It might have been cutting the grass or having a bath.
Something for you.
Something for me. And sometimes some days it was a few hours, which was cool, right? A lot of the time it was more around the 20-minute mark. It might be a quick run. It might be baking a loaf of whatever, right? And then just appreciating it. And it's that mindfulness of, this is for me now. This is just for me. And you can miss a day or 2 or 3. And that's where the journal's good to come in.
I was going to come on to that, yeah. And again, you would, everybody's different, but for you, this worked. Keep a journal or diary. It's the safest place to vent.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what, you can link this to protecting yourself from the outbursts or the uncontrolled emotional outbursts. So it's the safest place to vent, but also you could have like a trusted friend or somebody else to vent to. And so the diary will never speak back to you. I've got other friends that I can vent to that will never quit back, and they'll just listen and just absorb it. And that's what you need. You need the non-judgmental support that a journal offers easily. A good friend will offer. It could be an online friend. I've got a lot of friends who don't live near here, so a lot of telephone calls. And that's a really good way of doing it, because if you're talking to someone in a situation like I was in and you're listening to them, I imagine it's quite easy to realise when just to go into listening mode and just don't say anything and just accept what they're saying. Don't judge and just let them vent to you. And it's really important to have those safe places, because if you vent or you lose that emotional control at a time you don't want to, the damage can be horrible.
You also say, and we talked about it right at the start of the podcast, cry.
Yeah.
Don't be ashamed of crying.
Yeah. Which, as a man, it's hard to do. Nobody wants to cry. You feel ashamed of crying when you cry. You feel embarrassed. You don't want it to happen ever. And I cried at some really awkward moments. I cried getting my hair cut in a hairdresser's full of people I didn't know. I cried driving, on the motorway with cruise control on, and I just start crying. And actually, it's a very, very healthy and effective way of processing those emotions. And if you can do it with a loved one, or I don't know, in your own bedroom or somewhere in private where you can just have that outburst, in my opinion, that's a lot healthier than crying at work or somewhere where the impact, if people don't know what you're going through and you're just someone crying, it's excruciating. It's embarrassing, and you'll think about it, and you'll be not only processing the emotions that made you cry, but now on top of that, you've got, a factor of, I'm such a idiot, and you don't want that. And so learning to accept crying, and if you want to cry, have a cry, but finding the places that it's safe, appropriate, and you can minimize the embarrassment. You'll still be embarrassed. Every bloke's embarrassed to cry. Nobody wants to do it. But yeah.
How are you all now?
It's interesting. We're fine. We're doing classic man answer. Yeah, fine. We are doing well. We had a horrible incident about a month ago where Lucy had some symptoms for headache and dizziness, and they grew over time. And initially, she's on a second round of chemo, so initially it was just, right, that's just a side effect for chemo again. But then they grew to an extent, they were like, right, well, to be safer than sorry, we will send you for a scan. The scan results took 3 weeks to come back. And that was just a kick in the nuts of a reminder of how horrible waiting for results are. And once you've had results in your life where the answer is bad, and the answer is, I'm really sorry to say, it's cancer, waiting for any results is horrible. And so that was 3 weeks that the anxiety and the stress grew. And I think you can see it for both Lucy and I, that yes, this was in the middle of a second round of chemo, but this chemo is preventative it's not fighting anything that's there at the moment. So we should be feeling like we're over the hill. We've got 2 more rounds of chemo to go, and then we were going to be released back into the wild.
Yeah.
And then this happened, and the anxiety builds over the 3 weeks, and you have sleepless nights again, and you're like, oh God, if this comes back as it's in the brain, it's far from ideal. And then we got the results, and it's fine, right? So it's good news. But that process, we got those results 10 days ago or something, and now we're back on the happy train, and we're going to get through it, and it's going to be fine. But it was a real stark reminder of, she's going to find symptoms at some point in her life that we're going to have to go through this again, because we're going to be hypervigilant to them. There will be a lump on her body somewhere. There'll be a mole. There'll be tingly feet. There'll be a symptom that where normal people would go, that's probably nothing. I'll watch it for a month. If it's still there, I'll go and get it checked. The dread will set in quite quickly. And then 3 weeks is such a long time to wait for results, which I appreciate. They've got to go through all the different teams and specialists to make sure you get the actual result. So how are we now? We're fine. But something that's not captured in the book is the longevity of this.
You're going to have to live with it, aren't you?
Yeah. And thankfully, touch wood.
Yes, there is some in here.
Right, yeah. Thankfully, right now, we're not living with cancer. And thankfully, right now, the treatment's going to be done, and then we're going to be, like I said, we're going to be off and doing it again. And there's a lot of life lessons you take away that mean we're going to be positive, and it changes your perspective. And it sounds cliche, but it does. You embrace life. You make choices that you might not have made in the past. But this last couple of weeks has been a stark reminder of, those changes to our life that are positive are going to be in parallel to ones that there's always going to be a dread and fear that when the next symptom rears its head, we're going to have a period of that again. But we'll get on with it.
Well, I think the book is a fascinating read. As I've said, it is warts and all, isn't it? You don't hold back in the original journal. I mean, it's really your raw emotions and your raw thoughts right the way through this. And we could have gone into a lot more detail, talk for hours about all of the various different scenarios and situations that you come across. So you pleased you've published this now?
Yeah, 100%. So I think I've been asked before, what do I want from it? And I've already had the individuals that have said it's helped me, or it's helped loved ones, or it's helped me understand.
And you'll probably never know how many people it's helped.
No, and I don't want to. And I think I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
And now it's out there. And if I can just keep chipping away so that places like this know it's out there, try and raise money to buy copies so people can just get it for free. The profits from the book go to Macmillan.
Yep.
But it's not raising a lot of money, right? But if we go to cancer research, it's not raising a lot of money, but I've also had a lot of people and work especially, they noted money to buy copies to give away. And that's what I want. I want to get it out there so that it will help people. And it's just raise the awareness of organisations like this so that when you get someone in a similar situation, it will give them that little bit of knowledge, little bit of foresight of, right, everyone's different, but you're going to face situations like this. And then hopefully those little bits of advice will help out. And, from a selfish point of view, it helped me. It helped me cope with it. I can now sit down in a room with strangers and talk about the situation, which at the start of it, I could not have done. Even, a few months ago, I could not have done this. So from a selfish perspective, very happy. And then I think it's doing some good.
It certainly is. No, it is. Well, look, thank you so much for sharing it with us, and best wishes to you and partner and the children. And, I hope everything stays good for a very, 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 very long time.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
And everybody would echo that. It's been fascinating talking to you. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, so where can we get the book from? Yes,
it's available on Amazon, Kindle. But if you go on Amazon and you just type in Dad's Diary or Tom Fitton, Fitton, you'll find it. There's a few books from a Tom Fitton, who's an American lawmaker. Don't buy his books. Well, I don't know. They might be good.
Might be okay.
Yeah, buy mine. It's got a green cover. It's called Dad's Diary, Family Life with Cancer. It's on Amazon.
Brilliant.
You'll find it.
Well, it is a very, very good read. So thank you very much. And as I said, good luck for everything in the future. And the link will be in the show notes. So, again, thanks very much indeed. It's been a fascinating podcast this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you'd like more information about what we do, then head to cancersupportsuffolk.co.uk or call us on 01473 211 884. We're based in central Ipswich. You may have heard some of the traffic going past and the phone ringing in the background. So we record in our office, which is a very busy place. Cancer Support Suffolk is passionate about educating and supporting the people of Suffolk. And as a registered charity, we rely on donations and fundraising to be able to continue our vital work in the community. This podcast is the copyright of Cancer Support Suffolk and is produced and managed by podtalk.co.uk. It's supported by the Suffolk and North East Essex Integrated Care Board. Until next time, goodbye.